Okay, how did my training change when I went from running 3 hours 25 for the marathon to progressing to 2 hours 21 for the marathon? What changed about my philosophy to training, my approach to training, and the type of sessions that I was doing? I had a great question in the comments.
What was different about your training session for your first marathon and when you ran 2 hours 21 at London? It's a great question.
Now, when I did my first marathon and when I went to Barcelona in 2011 to try to execute a sub 3 hour marathon, I was already running pretty good times. So I was running okay for 5K, 10K, half marathon. And I started to put some structure in place, but the way I would describe it was ad hoc. And when I look at the stats from London Marathon last year, 2023, it's a big sample data. 50% of the runners who finished London Marathon uploaded their marathon result and data to Strava. So we can analyze a massive amount of data. And the interesting thing is, when statisticians have looked at that, is that people who are running 3 hours 30 for the marathon or slower averaged, for the 16 weeks leading up to the London Marathon, they averaged 30 kilometers per week. Now, that's really interesting because it tells you something about how that type of runner, that sort of, and it's a big portion of people are running 3 hours 30 to 4 hours 30. It's a big portion of people, and it's people who are serious about their running. In the most part, they're very serious about their running, and they want to move forward. They want to get better at running, and it's important for them to probably attack a strategy, attack a time, and get the very most out of that day. But the 16 weeks leading up, they're only doing a total volume per week of 30 kilometers. So what's happening? This is what's happening from experience. You kind of know that maybe you need to insert speed, or maybe you don't know that. You know that it's important to be able to run the distance. That's the main thing you know as a marathon runner, or as somebody who wants to go far and has signed up for a marathon. They know that they're going to need to do the homework if they want to pass the exam. For me, it was like I know both of those things. I knew speed work was important, and I knew that long run was important. But the way it looked is I didn't know that I needed to do my long run on a Sunday, and therefore it would give me 3 days to recover, to go really hard again on my interval session. And the interval session would take even more out of me. So I needed to leave it 4 days from Wednesday to Sunday in order to do a long run again. And I didn't know that it was the consistency week on week for the entire training schedule and the 6 months before that was going to give me the result that I really wanted to. That was ad hoc. It was like when I feel like doing 12 times 500 meters or 10 times 500 meters or 20 times 500 meters even, then I'll go out and do it. And I remember training for that, and I remember a specific session in Alhama de Granada, which is a beautiful little place, but one of the problems with it is there's nowhere far apart from the town center. And so you've got this tiny little, not even town, village center, and there's about a 500 meter flat. So I would often use that. So kind of run steeply downhill, have an easy run for a little bit, and then do the 500 meter intervals. Or there was a 500 meter flat. Everything around me was mountainous, but there was a 500 meter flat about 5K away. So for me, the perfect session would be run out to that, jog out to that, get to that point, and then sort of run back and forth and give yourself a minute or two in between and let yourself sort of recover and then go again. I wasn't thinking about heart rate. I wasn't thinking about effort level. I was only focused on speed and only focused on trying to run fast enough so that I'd make 3 hours comfortable. And I failed. And now when I look back and I'm kind of like coaching and helping other runners get the most out of their body, it's obvious to see why I failed, because I hadn't executed a training plan, let alone a consistent period of 6 to 12 months in order to run a faster time, like sub 3 hours. When I progressed and I got to Seville in 2012, I ran 2:37, so under 2:40, and then it started to get serious. And then I'd had more structured training towards that, but then I took it to the next level. Then it was like, okay, I need to put something together. I need to have a strategy in place. It needs to be short, medium, long-term plan. And so I'd be doing the 250 meter intervals. I'd be doing hill repeats. I'd be doing 1 minute intervals. 2-minute intervals, really short intervals that would build speed. Then as the training plan went on, I would gradually increase those intervals. And those intervals would always be a fixture on a Wednesday so that I could get the most out of my body. It was really important for me to train hard, and sometimes only later, if I wasn't feeling it on a Wednesday, I would put it off until the Thursday and make sure that I got the most out of the interval session, because I knew the interval session was the key area for super compensation. When I went from 237 to 224 and then eventually to 221, that's when I completely understood the whole game is a case of patience. And the more consistent, the more discipline that I have in order to box the interval sessions off, to box the long runs off, but to run a specific segment within, and for those two pieces of super compensation from the Wednesday and the Sunday to feed nicely back into each other and work specifically towards goals, interim goals like other races, shorter races, longer races in the mountains, and I was building that endurance. That's when it all came together, and I was able to run a PB. But it was a long time sort of learning and sort of failing and learning from my mistakes and trying to get something wrong, getting injured, having Achilles issues. You don't need to run into that, because all the information you need, some guy is talking about it on YouTube. And so you've got access to people that have been there, made the mistakes, and you can learn from those. It's really important that if you're going to do something, and this is only the philosophy, I was talking to somebody in a cafe today about this, the only philosophy that I have is if you want to get better at something, whatever your starting point, but if you want to get better to a point that you insert something into your daily and weekly life so that you can improve, whether it's learning to play an instrument, learning a new language, learning to run as fast as you possibly can for a certain distance, 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, I'm all ears, because I love the pursuit of you trying to improve yourself. And so there's no need to make your own mistakes. And I think the quote is something like, smart people learn from their own mistakes. Really smart people learn from other people's mistakes. And you can do that in this day and age. You can learn from other people's mistakes and learn the good things that they've done and put into place and the results that they've got. And that's proven. You can see that. You can Google the results and see the progression that I had in the marathon. All that is there for you. So there's no need to make those mistakes. And I wish I would have had access to this type of information when I restarted running in 2010. But yeah, I hope you got something from that. And if you're getting anything from these videos, please help out the channel. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you've got any more questions, please pop them in the comments below. I think they're brilliant. And when I talk about this channel with other people, always rave about how intelligent and how smart the questions are in the comments below. And that says a lot about the viewers.